Hey everyone, I'm Mark from Novation and I'm here today at Bob DJ in Manchester, and we've brought with us our Novation Circuit groovebox, so we're going to take a quick look and delve into it. So what is Circuit? Well, Circuit basically fits into the groovebox category. It has four what we call drum channels, but essentially are now four sample channels, because you can actually put your own samples into Novation Circuit, and also that's coupled with two synth channels as well. So let's take a quick look on how we can get started really quickly and easily with Circuit. So we start in the sessions view. We have 32 different songs or slots where you can save your work. So these can also be color coded as well, both on the unit and with the software that comes with the unit. This is a great way of kind of structuring out some of your performances. If you're using it live, you can perhaps group them by color coding and key and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is choose one of the unlit ones, and we're going to start a new project. And we're going to dive into the drum channels or sample channels. And if I hit the play button down on the right hand side here, what we can see is we've got a 16-step sequencer running through, and we can see our playhead that's kind of running through those 16 steps. The first question I always get asked is, why is there two 16-step sequences? That's because drum 1 and 2 are on the same page. So this is the 16-step sequence for drum 1, and this is for drum 2, and that's replicated in 3 and 4 as well. So if we just make a sort of really basic fall to the floor beat, start with our drum 1, which by default is a kick drum, and then we can put in our clap, or by default it's a snare sound. So we can sequence the drums, and it's as easy as kind of just, you know, kind of turning lights on and off and quickly finding a rhythm that you like. As I say, there is two ways you can put the drums in. You can use the sequencer view, which we're using now, but if I hold shift and note, we can enter the live drumming view as well. So we can use this to hit record, and we can just place in a simple kind of hi-hat rhythm. So really nice and simple, and you can see how quickly it is just to really kind of get a groove going really quickly. So if we go back into the note view, we can perhaps kind of busy this pattern up a little bit. And the main difference between playing the drums in live and sequencing them, if you sequence them, they're at full velocity, and if you play them in live, the pads are actually velocity sensitive, so they'll track how hard you're hitting the pad. So we'll move on to how you kind of change the sound. The next question I generally get is, how do we change the sounds that are going on with the drum channels? Well, if I hold shift and drum 4, we enter the sample select view, where we can now audition or choose a different sound. So with Circuit, what we can do is we can jump between two different banks. So we have one page of 32 different samples, and we can jump to another page and select another bank of 32 sounds or samples. So we're just going to select this sample here, and we're going to enter back into the note screen, and we're just going to place this into our sequence. So really quickly and easy just to sketch out a really quick beat. So moving along the right hand side here, we've got some stuff we can really start to have fun with. We've got an effects section, and once we enter the effects view, we can actually select between sort of 16 different delay types and apply these to any of the parts that we want. So for example, if I want to add that to that new sound that we've selected on drum 4, it's going to be the macro control directly above drum 4, so it'll be this one here. So we can add a little bit of delay to this. And the white ones represent different types of reverb as well. So if we move from effects up into mixer, we get another completely different view, and the macros themselves actually now become volume control as well. So this sound with the reverb and delay in is a little bit too loud in the mix. So what we can do is actually adjust the volume of drum 4, which will be this one here, and kind of just sit that back in the mix a little bit. And also, if you're using Circuit Live as well, you can actually use the pads here to turn on and off some of the parts. So patterns is where we can sort of begin to kind of sketch out an idea. So at the moment we're just working with a 16-step sequence. But what you can do is select a different 16-step sequence, and then we can go into drum 1 and 2, and what you can see is there's no note information at all. So we can set a simple kind of variation, just perhaps something on the offbeat there, go back into patterns, and now what we can do is actually chain pattern 1 with pattern 2, and then we increase the 16-step sequence to a 32-step sequence. And this will always go around in a loop as well. So what does this actually mean? Well, we can actually extend this up to 8 times 16-step sequence per part. So once you kind of think of that in terms of sketching out an idea or a song or a track, it starts to become, you know, a little bit more kind of in-depth and vast what you can do with Circuit as well. So moving at the top here, we've got some other things that we can take a look at. We've got swing as well, so we can actually add some of that kind of offbeat or human played kind of swing to the drums. So that gives us kind of a nice shuffle. You can distinctly hear that on the hi-hats as well. Also, we've got a tempo control as well, and you get this nice kind of readout in beats per minute. So at the moment we're working 120 beats per minute, but if we want to, we can actually kind of slow that right down to as slow as 40 beats per minute, or we can actually increase that right the way up to 240. So we're just going to take that right down to back down to 120. And this leads us nicely onto the synths that are included with Circuit as well. So as well as the 4 drum channels or sample channels, we've actually got 2 synths that are built into Circuit. And these are based on the Nova synth engine, so the same engine that's in the Mini Nova and Ultra Nova. And you get a very different kind of layout to what you do with the drums. So we're only looking at a 1 sequencer down the bottom of 16 steps here. And just above this, we've got a keyboard laid out in a minor scale. And one of the really neat things about Circuit is you can actually change the scale type. By pressing scales, we have access to various different scale types. We can see that Circuit is changing the scales as we go through. And at the end here, we have a kind of traditional keyboard or chromatic kind of keyboard layout. So we're just going to go back to the scales, go back to the minor scale. And very similar to the drums and the samples, there's 2 ways of inputting the synths into a Circuit sequencer. We can just hit record and just play something quite simple, or if we want to, if we're not comfortable with playing live, we can actually just pick something we want to put into the sequence and we can just place it in. And to clear, we can just clear and remove it from the sequence. So much like you've noticed with a lot of the other pages, the macro controls actually do a lot of different jobs in different pages. And once you enter the synths, they're actually all connected to the parameters of the synth engine itself. So what you can do is actually kind of shape this now into some sort of bass line. So there's a lot of other functions we can do on the left-hand side here with Circuit. So we've got note here, or we've got velocity, so we can actually change some of the velocity settings. So we can get a more kind of human played feel, or if we want to, we can actually extend the gate length, so the amount of time that one of these notes is kind of held down. And you may have noticed already, but connected to each synth we have sidechain control as well. So sidechain will give us that nice kind of pumping or ducking effect, and by default it's actually using drum 1 as a trigger. So this is it without any sidechain. And if we just add some sidechain, we can start to hear it kind of pumping and moving off of the kick as well. So sidechain is available on both synths, and much like the drums or the samples, the synths actually have different patches available. So if we hold shift and synth 1, we can actually access and audition 64 different preset patches that come with the unit itself. And on synth 2, they're more your kind of pads or lead sounds. So the final 2 buttons on the left hand side here are to do with the pattern itself. So we have pattern nudge, which is a really good function where This kind of sounds a bit kind of straight-laced, this bass line at the moment, but if we want to, we can actually kind of offset it or nudge it one step at a time, backwards and forwards, to get a kind of different kind of happy accident style bass line. And pattern length as well kind of adjusts the overall size of the sequence. So at the moment we're going through a whole 16-step sequence, but if we want to, we can just adjust this to say 4 steps. And this kind of gives us a nice kind of repetitive kind of bass line. And if we combine that with our filter, which is a global filter, we can kind of get some nice kind of transitions going. So that's a really brief look around Novation Circuit. There's some other really fantastic features. For example, you can input all of your own sounds and your samples with the included component software, and also you can now flip your samples per step as well. So what that does is give you an absolute plethora of the amount of sounds that you can use on each channel. So that's a really brief look around Novation Circuit. So thanks for watching. For more information on any Novation products, please visit bopdj.com or head down to your local Bop DJ store where you can get hands-on on all of our Novation products.